Kelly's voice wavered for only a heartbeat, but that tiny fracture was enough to alter everything. The studio, once filled with warmth and predictable energy, seemed to hold its breath. She stopped mid-sentence, swallowed hard, and glanced away from the camera, as if something unseen had reached out and caught her off guard. At home, viewers leaned forward instinctively, sensing that what they were witnessing was no longer rehearsed or polished. The light still glowed, the audience remained seated, and the familiar set surrounded her, yet all of it suddenly felt fragile, like a stage built on something unsteady. In that quiet pause, time stretched, and the broadcast crossed an invisible line from performance into something deeply personal and unmistakably real. Beneath the familiar smile, the evening had begun like countless others, wrapped in routine and comfort. Jokes landed on cue, introductions flowed smoothly, and Kelly wore the smile audiences had come to know so well. Yet beneath that practiced ease, something felt different. Her hands tapped the desk too quickly, her gaze drifted off to the side more than usual, and her words arrived just a fraction late, as if she were catching up with herself. Those who worked closest to her noticed it first, the slight hesitations, the tension held just under the surface, the effort it took to maintain composure. A producer shifted in their seat, a cue card lingered longer than planned, and still, the unease remained, quietly threading its way through the night. The question that opened the door. Then came a question that seemed ordinary on paper, one she had likely answered variations of many times before. Kelly glanced down, already knowing what it said, yet her expression changed as though she were seeing it for the first time. She laughed softly, trying to keep things light, but the sound cracked before it fully formed. Her voice trembled, not dramatically, not loudly, but just enough to be felt. She searched briefly off camera, perhaps for reassurance, perhaps for permission, and finding none, she continued. Words came slower now, less polished, touching on the strain of always showing up whole when parts of yourself feel scattered, of performing strength while quietly carrying exhaustion. Her eyes glistened, and though no tears fell, the vulnerability was unmistakable. When the script fell away, the studio grew still in a way that couldn't be planned. No music swelled to guide the moment, no host stepped in to redirect the conversation. This was no longer entertainment, it was a human being standing in the open, unshielded by humor or routine. Backstage, phones buzzed as concern spread quickly, while on set everyone waited, sensing the importance of letting the moment unfold naturally. Kelly took a slow breath, steadying herself, and in that breath was a choice, to push forward or to pause. Her hands stopped shaking, but the cost of holding on was written clearly across her face, and the silence honored that truth. Choosing to step back. With careful movements, Kelly stood from her chair, each step deliberate, as though grounding herself in the present. She spoke softly, admitting she could not continue, not that night, not in that moment. There was no drama in her words, only honesty. She apologized gently, not out of obligation, but out of respect for the audience, for the crew, and for herself. When she set the microphone down, the sound echoed faintly through the studio, a simple action carrying unexpected weight. It marked the end of the broadcast as planned and the beginning of something far more meaningful. The silence that followed. Kelly looked off camera one last time, her expression searching, then turned and walked away. The camera lingered on the empty chair she left behind, and the seconds stretched long enough to feel physical. No applause broke the quiet, no voice rushed in to explain or soften what had just happened. The co-host remained seated, unsure how to respond, while the guests sat still, respecting the gravity of the moment. In that absence of words, something powerful took shape. The silence spoke clearly, offering a reminder that not every moment needs commentary to be understood. Beyond the broadcast. Though the show eventually cut away, the moment did not fade. Clips circulated quickly, replayed and paused as viewers searched for meaning in every expression and hesitation. Speculation arose, as it often does, but official explanations were slow to come. Instead, what lingered most was the feeling left behind, a sense that something honest had been shared, something that could not be manufactured or rehearsed. Social media, often filled with quick reactions and humor, shifted tone, becoming a space for empathy and reflection. People recognized themselves in that pause, in the courage it took to stop pretending everything was fine. The weight of waiting. As hours passed without clarification, the image of the empty chair seemed to follow viewers into their own lives. The waiting felt heavy, yet it carried meaning. It created room for understanding rather than instant judgment, for patience rather than assumption. The silence reminded people that even those who appear unshakable carry limits, emotions, and unseen struggles. It reframed strength, suggesting that it is not only found in endurance, but also in the wisdom to pause when necessary. What the cameras didn't show away from the lights, the pressures Kelly carried were complex and layered. Balancing personal truth with public expectation is a negotiation few fully understand, especially when the world expects consistency without considering cost. What viewers saw was only a fraction of that reality. The visible moment when holding it together became heavier than letting it show. In choosing honesty over performance, she quietly asserted a boundary, demonstrating that authenticity matters more than maintaining an image. It was a reminder that life continues beyond the frame and that the most meaningful moments often happen without planning. A lesson in vulnerability. The power of that night did not come from shock or spectacle, but from sincerity. Kelly's decision to acknowledge her limits offered a rare lesson in self-respect. It showed that vulnerability is not weakness, and that stepping back can be an act of strength. By allowing herself to be seen as human rather than flawless, she created space for others to reflect on their own boundaries and needs. The moment resonated because it was real, and real moments have a way of staying with us. After the silence. In the days that followed, speculation gradually gave way to understanding. Messages of support poured in from viewers who recognized the bravery it took to pause publicly. Colleagues spoke with empathy, acknowledging how difficult it can be to choose well-being over expectation. Kelly herself approached her work differently, with renewed intention and care, choosing when and how to engage in ways that honored her truth. The empty chair, once a symbol of interruption, transformed into one of possibility, a reminder that absence can hold meaning too. Humanity on display. What unfolded that night blurred the line between public and private life. It revealed the humanity behind the role, the person behind the performance. Kelly's choice invited others to slow down, to listen more closely, and to recognize the quiet struggles carried by those around them. It emphasized the importance of compassion, both for others and for oneself, and showed that honesty, even when uncomfortable, can create deeper connection than perfection ever could. Moving forward with intention. Ultimately, the story that emerged was one of resilience rather than collapse. Kelly stepped away with integrity, leaving behind not confusion but reflection. When she returned, she carried lessons about balance, boundaries, and the cost of constant pressure. Her actions reinforced the idea that strength does not always mean pushing through. Sometimes it means knowing when to stop, breathe, and care for oneself. That quiet decision became a powerful example of courage rooted in self-awareness. The truth in the pause. The empty chair, the lingering silence, and the gentle exit from the stage became more than a broadcast moment. They became a reminder that presence sometimes requires stepping away, and that honoring one's humanity is not only acceptable but necessary. Kelly's pause allowed viewers to witness something rare, a public moment defined by honesty rather than expectation. It left an impression that extended far beyond entertainment, touching on dignity, empathy, and the quiet strength found in choosing truth. A lasting impression. Long after the night ended, the memory remained vivid. Conversations shifted toward mindfulness, emotional health, and the value of authenticity. Kelly's choice continued to resonate, not because it was dramatic, but because it was sincere. It stood as a testament to the enduring power of vulnerability, reminding audiences that the most impactful moments are often the simplest ones, when someone chooses to be real, even when it's hard.